The number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business.
I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Getting it done, any means, get rid of these stakes. I'm up in my stakes, going all in like step, get rid of these breaks. Now I ain't never gonna break. Double my pace till I go down one of the greats. One of the greats, whatever it takes, whatever it takes.
Can't believe I'm doing this.
Having fun, so that's all.
We like the life. All right, everybody, welcome back in to another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. This is episode 210, my friends, and Christian Brindle, joined as always with Glenn Shelton. We got a hell of a freaking show for you guys today. Multiple topics to kind of comb through. I don't know if you have anything that you want to start the show with, but I had one thing I wanted to mention, if I may, really briefly.
Please don't be Jaden Ivey. Please don't be Jaden Ivey.
Well, now that you mention it, I was at the gym this morning, and I was like listening to a video on YouTube and getting the recap of that whole situation. Crazy.
Some people, dude, they have it all. And they throw it away.
Well, the funny thing to me is, like, I don't know how much we want to go down this rabbit hole.
It was bait. That was a little fish hook, man. I'm fishing this. I was like, can I get him? Can I get him on the NBA in 40 seconds or less? I was like, oh, got him. Oh, we got a live one.
Over or under these days that I'm not aware of. No, so like I was watching Steven Crowder. That's who I was talking about it. Louder with Crowder. For those of you that don't know.
Louder with Crowder.
And not everybody likes Steven Crowder. Okay, I get it. I understand.
Okay.
Okay. All right. But he's walking through this whole situation, and he plays some clips from the Jaden Ivey video. One thing he does mention and points out that I felt was pretty interesting, like, goes through all of the situations where players like beat the hell out of their wives, and they don't get cut.
This is the real conversation, in my opinion.
They don't get cut for content detrimental to the team. And, like they're doing domestic violence. Ja Morant's flashing guns on IG Live, multiple, not once, but twice. They stay on their teams. Jaden Ivey was a high draft pick. He's not a bad player. He goes against the narrative, and he's cut. Sharing an opinion. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I think, doesn't it? Because and there was a bunch, because this has caused the conversation of basically like
not what I expected to start this show with.
High profile athletes. If your performance is in a certain echelon, if you are Tom Brady, right? Not saying Tom Brady did anything wrong here. I'm just using him as a talent example. If you are in the top,
Brady.
Like, we get a cease and desist in the next 10 seconds. Like, what's going on? If you're in the top 1%, are you given a hall pass in a sense where you can say things and do things with less repercussion than someone who's not in that top? Again, I don't even really know Jaden Ivey that well beyond the news lately, but it's from what I've read, it doesn't sound like he was anyone special. He was averaging 8 points a game. Like, I don't think he was anything.
So that's the media narrative. Okay. Kind of spin it as he's this nobody. Okay. Jaden Ivey was a lottery pick for the Detroit Pistons. Jaden Ivey was a starter next to Cade Cunningham. Just a few short years ago. Jaden Ivey is not a bad player. He was traded because of the same type of thing from Detroit onto a Chicago team that is basically all guards. They don't have any bigs. They're all guards. So he gets buried in the rotation kind of thing. But I don't think he's a bad player. Like, an example of a player that I would say is equivalent that you put into the beat the hell out of their spouse camp is like Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is not like an all-star player. He never got cut. He's still on his team. You know, like there's countless examples that are not like the Ja Morants of the world or like the all NBA.
You genuinely believe this is more about what he said and less about like performance or the fact that he was a nobody or was a somebody. You think he just said the wrong things. Did he bring up the wrong players because he threw Steph Curry's name out there? Like, was that part of this too?
Could be. But again, right, like another example, right, is like anybody that's outspoken that goes with the agenda, nothing happens to them. Steve Kerr doesn't even give press conferences anymore. He gives political monologues each night after every game, but nothing happens to Steve. You know, I don't know. To me, it's hypocrisy. I really think so. I mean, maybe he went over the line. Maybe he threw some names out there that he shouldn't have. I don't know.
All right. To get this back on track, what was the thing you were going to bring up before I derailed us here to start off episode 210 of the podcast?
210. You know, I've noticed something as of late, and call me petty white. Call me kind of a petty bitch, but I noticed like
what podcast am I on right now? This pardon the interruption. Is this what
okay, so I've noticed lately that like there's certain people that try to spin up a podcast and they've been doing it for months. And they'll post things on social media and they'll be like, today's show's gonna be awesome. And then they're like, what topics do you want? And they'll be up for like 6 hours and there's no comments. There's like one comment on the whole post. I'm like, oh, nobody cares about your dumb shit. And it's kind of interesting to look at it from that perspective because this show on a bad day across all our platforms will reach probably 1,000 agents. On a good day, it might reach 3,000 to 5,000 agents on a good show, right? Like, unique listeners. So it's just interesting to kind of see, like, man, a lot of dull people out there.
What really kills me with some of you out there in the podcast space, and again, not trying to gatekeep podcasting. Anyone's allowed to pick up a microphone. You can say whatever you want into it, stream it out there.
Yes, but the market decides. The market decides.
Absolutely, right. But it's the getting ready to get ready, right? Those are the people that drive me. And that's kind of the same, I think kind of falls in line with what you're talking about. And there's one person in particular that I don't know if we might even be talking about the same person. I don't know. But there's one person in particular that I'm thinking of that, especially this year, this individual has spent an incredible amount of time hyping up an upcoming podcast. I have yet to see a single episode. There might be a few that got released. There might be a few that have gotten released. But I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, if you, my first thought when I saw this person's post, I was like, if you just spent this much time and energy actually doing the podcast, you would actually potentially have a start of a podcast. But instead, you have taken weeks, months trying to like hype up people in social media, like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. The podcast is coming. This is the year. I've got a podcast coming. It's like, just do it, dude. Like, just do the podcast. If you're going to do a podcast, do the podcast. Like,
yeah, it might be the same person because I didn't even know they hadn't released an episode if it is the same person, but I can admittedly say I've never seen an episode ever. But the funny thing to me is like, if it's this big ramp up, that's even worse. If it's this big ramp up to a show, because it's like trying to hype up a show that hasn't happened yet and nobody cares.
Well, and the idea of saying like, I've got an awesome show for you, tell me what to talk about. It's like, if it's an awesome show, should you have those topics? Like, why do you need my help for? Like, what do you want me to tell you?
How do you know it's an awesome show if you don't have topics? What evidence do you have to point to that it's indeed an awesome show? I'm sorry. I had to say it.
No,
I think it's very well behaved for about 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. I don't know, something like that. I just had to say it. It was funny
it's
to
a
me.
valid point. I had one little thing I was going to throw out there today.
Yes.
Went to the mall it was my daughter's birthday yesterday. I ended up at the mall in Portland. I got a new pair of shoes yesterday. And it's such like an old man thing for me because I have like my Achilles has been bothering me. So I have like probably 3 or 4 different pairs of sneakers I'll like rotate in between. I don't feel like any of them are that supportive. And I got this new pair of shoes last night and I was so happy. I was like, these are going to support my feet. And all I could think about is I was like, wow, I am like 90. This is like a grandpa level like excitement of like, I got a new pair of shoes that are more supportive than my other shoes. I was like, how old am I? Oh my God.
You know, I question that. I question that when we have to basically pull you by your ankles to get you to come out when we go on trips and stuff. It's difficult.
My walking ability?
No, like your desire to want to go out once the sun goes down. That's not always there.
I'm talking about my ability to walk.
No. I get that. I'm more saying in relation to the old man comment.
In
relation to the old man
yeah.
comment. The actual like shoe element of it, I can kind of relate to a little bit though. Like last year on the top producer trip in Miami, I bought those Nikes, if you remember. And like I don't really buy shoes. And ever since then, I got like really into buying shoes. I bought like 3 Jordans and like all these like now I have like 8 pairs of shoes. I'm like, what happened to me? But those shoes, I love them. I'm wearing them right now because they're so supportive on my feet. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. It's like a cushion. This is nice.
When you're young, you can put anything on your foot. You don't think about it. You don't care. It's like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right, okay, let's get into the sponsor, sir.
Yes, because we got 2 topics to get to. Let's jump into today's sponsor. Glenn, who's the sponsor of 210?
Guys, the sponsor of episode 210 of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by the 7-Figure Seminar System. We have a webinar coming up April 8th, so a week from today, where we are going to be giving you guys the goods on how we have put together an in-person seminar system that will allow you to have a turnkey of prospects, new to Medicare, existing Medicare, that can come into your business and be a consistent year-round flow of new applications hitting your books every month. Obviously, this is something that coming into the off season, I think is extremely important. So I think the timing of this is very relevant. If you are looking at the next few months and you're scratching your head and you're wondering, what can I do as an agent, as a producer to keep the apps coming? You need to register for this webinar. It is happening a week from today, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. I'll make sure the link is below this stream in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. Again, the webinar is called the 7-Figure Seminar System, How Top Producers Sell Medicare Year-Round. Don't miss it, guys. It's going to be epic.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we have 2 topics to get to today. I think maybe we start with the final rule preparation topic quickly. So not a lot to say about this as of yet, but one thing you and I were discussing yesterday on the phone that really kind of opened my eyes is that final rule should be coming for plan year 2027 any day now. And then upon looking at the last 2 years, CMS actually dropped the final rule on the same day in April, back-to-back years. I did not realize this. Both days were April 4th in 2025 and 2024. April 4th this year is a Saturday. So it's probably extremely likely that we have a final rule to dissect on Friday the 3rd or Monday the 6th.
Yes.
Thoughts on what you think we might get? We have a proposal. We have several proposals actually to go off of. Several elements were kind of thrown into these various proposals. If we've learned anything from previous proposals and final rules, a lot of times certain things in the proposals get thrown in there with some alterations. Certain things get tossed entirely. So you never know exactly what you're going to get. But thoughts on this developing situation?
I'm gonna share my screen. This is something I've been wanting to talk about on the show for a while now. We just haven't really had the time to get into. This is actually a screenshot from the old LinkedIn. Shout out to my LinkedIn. If I was a true LinkedIn aficionado, I'd actually have the actual post pulled up. But I have the next best thing and a screenshot. This comes from Mary Angel Martinez. I believe she does her own little podcast, YouTube. If it's the person I'm thinking of, I think she does little videos that are actually pretty informative. I saw this post. I thought it was interesting, so I screenshot it. And I wanted to kind of discuss this. One of the main things that I'm looking for in this final rule is the rate increase for the Medicare Advantage insurance carriers. Are we actually going to see a 0.09% rate increase? So I'm going to kind of skim through this post because, again, this to me is one of the big things I'm looking for in final rule. CMS received 47,000 comments on the 2027 Medicare Advantage rate proposal. And to put that in perspective, Christian loves his comments, by the way, you guys. Get those comments going. Comments are
rolling in.
The waves of change happen with comments, as Christian likes to say.
Not with legislator meetings, not with lawsuits, not with lobbyists, with comments.
Major rulemaking cycles in the space typically draw a few thousand responses. So that volume is genuinely outside anything we have seen before on a proposed MA rule. The proposal sitting in front of CMS right now is 0.09% rate increase for 2027, coming off a 5% increase the year before, and pushback has been significant, enough that 110 organizations led by the Better Medicare Alliance sent a formal letter to Administrator Dr. Oz this week asking for a revision before the rates get finalized. Physicians, employers, patient advocates, health plans all signed onto the same letter, which tells you how broadly this is being felt across the industry right now. CMS finalizes the 2027 rate on April 7th, and whatever lands in that final rule becomes the financial foundation for every plan design agents will be selling in the next AEP. So keeping that date on your calendar now saves you from being caught off guard in October, which I will say that's kind of an interesting date to throw out there. Does this mean this will get finalized potentially after final rule then? I thought this would be incorporated in.
Good question. I don't know. I don't remember seeing the Medicare Advantage funding increase amounts in previous final rules, come to think of it. I don't remember seeing them like highlighted on a specific page or anything like that. So it could be a separate thing entirely.
Might be a separate thing that kind of happens at about the same time. Again, I'm anticipating, like Christian said a moment ago, either this Friday, April 3rd, which if I had to bet right now, I would guess it's Friday, April 3rd. We get final rule. There's a chance that it rolls to Monday the 6th. So this will be right on the backside of final rule, most likely. Within 24 to 48 hours, I think we'll get confirmation of the funding, again, according to Miss Martinez here. The week's update also covers the new login options for Medicare.gov that are good to know before a client calls confused mid-appointment, the Aetna mental health parity fine out of Pennsylvania, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so that's really, there's a couple other pieces in there, but the main thing for me is, again, the funding on the proposed rate increase for these Medicare Advantage carriers. Now, that being said, I do think that from the information that I have from the conversations I've had, it sounds like there is a possibility that we're going to see this number jump beyond the 0.09% that was proposed. So I know this is just kind of a piece of the whole final rule conversation. It might not even be in final rule, but what are your thoughts on that portion of it?
I would utterly be shocked if that's the final number that we get on the increase side of things, because I've talked to some of my most well-known connections over the past 30 days or so on this, and I've consistently heard that there was strong belief it would not be that finalized amount, that it would be a higher amount. I guess time will tell, but a lot of the conversations I've had, and I know a lot of the conversations you've had, are people that are probably more closer to the source of it than I am.
Yeah.
So I would trust their word. It's not like little Billy agent jumping on a Facebook group anonymously. It's not that I'm talking about. I spoke to a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy in Washington. It's not that. It's people that are running massive organizations, people that are very high up in carriers, these types of contacts that are where I'm hearing this stuff from. So I'd be shocked. And one thing that's interesting to me is like that proposal got that many comments, but final rule with gutting administrative payments didn't. Was that or can we literally say that was because of us? Because we said don't comment. It's stupid. Like there's no way. Like
no. Well,
I
that's
find
a good
that hard
question,
to believe,
because I feel like that did get a lot of comments. I mean, there was so much commotion that got. But if I had to guess right now, did it get 47,000 or more? I don't know. I don't know if it did get that many comments. Part of the problem with that whole situation is just people not understanding. Again, there were some agents that were cheering for the end of the FMO, right? There was this like non-clarity among the industry on what this really meant, right? So maybe that's the difference here, is this is kind of black and white. Like I think whether you're an FMO, an agency owner, or you're an independent agent, I think we can all look at this and say 0.09% is a slap in the face to these Medicare Advantage carriers when it comes to the type of inflation and the cost that they're dealing with. And that's going to be bad for the entire industry. Like it's genuinely going to be bad for the entire industry. Now, like you said, I have had some conversations and I have been told that this number should be bigger. I tried to pin the number on some people, like, tell me what it is then. Like if it's not 0.09% or 3%, 5%, like what are we looking at? Nobody knows. Nobody has this number yet that I've talked to, but it sounds like, and maybe this was like an art of the deal negotiating type tactic from CMS, right? Maybe this proposal was like, hey, we're going to start at 0 and then we'll see where we end up, right? Maybe that's what this whole thing was. I have no idea, but I'm praying that we get to at least 3%. I think anything below 3% is probably just going to cause so much more chaos than it needs to be. I think 3 to 5% puts us in a range where like there will still be chaos, but it probably won't be nearly as significant as it would be if it was this 0.09%. If we get above 5%, who knows? Who knows really how this affects it? But if you put a gun to my head right now and you said, Glenn, give me the number, I'm going to say 3.4%. Mark it, book it, call Vegas, put all your money on it, take a second mortgage. I'm saying 3.4%. That's what I'm hoping to see, at least.
If you look at the past 10 years of final or Medicare Advantage rate adjustments and increases, there's been some years in there that were like 1.5, 2%. We're all still here. As Elton John once said, we're still standing.
Yeah.
So even if it was 1.5, it's a dramatic amount difference than what
True.
it's proposed at. Like it's
True.
essentially at zero, right? It's essentially at
It's basically
nothing
zero
right
Yes.
now. So even 1.5% is a big difference and a big step forward. I don't know if we'll see 3.4 because we got over 5 this past year. Usually these things fluctuate a little bit. My guess would be 2 to 2.5.
Woof.
But again, we've had years that were 1.5. Like I don't feel like that's nearly as crippling than nothing. And I think
okay. So, sorry. Continue. Finish your thought.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, and I think while it is in a difficult time, we're a couple years into now this post IRA world with plans. I think carriers could navigate that a little bit. Are we still going to see plan benefits retract? I think no matter what, we could get a
For sure
6% rate increase and we're going to still get
Agreed.
that.
I agree.
So I think anybody that thinks that this is the difference between plan benefits slashing and disruption and non-disruption,
right,
you're dreaming. You're gonna get that regardless of what this ends up being. But if it's bad enough, I do think it exacerbates that situation for sure.
It's a scale for sure, in my opinion. It's not that 5% or 8% keeps like non-commissionable plans from happening or any other chaos. But I just think that below that threshold where we're at like 0 is just going to add to the chaos. So again, this is not even potentially going to be in final rule, but we should know within a couple days of final rule. It's kind of falls under that same umbrella. So all of the funding conversation put to the side now, is there anything you're hopeful about or that you're looking for in this final rule this year? It's 2026. We've had a new administration for 12 months now. Dr. Oz, I want to say, finally got into power. Mr. Mehmet standing right behind me with that brilliant smile that I think Christian, a lot of times, he looks like Christian's looking at me on the camera, but I think his eyes are actually drifting towards Mehmet behind me. Is there anything that you think that you think will be in here or that you're hopeful to see? This is going to be on the pen of the new administration, right? Like, this isn't Shaquita, this isn't Biden, this is Mehmet and the team. What do you think we're going to see? What are you hopeful about? Talk to me.
Well, shout out Shaquita. Probably the most mentioned person in the history of the pod, but
definitely up there.
We should have a Shaquita counter. Someone have a VA go back and watch every show that we ever did.
Shaquita.
Anyway, I, like many agents, am ecstatic about the potential and very likelihood of 48-hour rule going away. The stupidest rule known to man in any industry. I'm on the record saying that.
Please, Mehmet.
That was in the proposal. It's, I think, a layup, an easy thing that they can do. It's practical. I've said it before. Anybody from bureaucrats to agents to whoever that thinks it's a good idea is a numbskull. It's the dumbest rule that ever has been birthed, ever. It helps no one. It does nothing. It's stupid. So I look forward to that being a thing of the past once again. And then once we get a new left-leaning president, it will be back. Hopefully I'm dead by then. I don't know.
I can't believe it's hard to believe that's even a thing ever. But yeah, I'm hopeful that that's going to be eradicated. 48-hour rule obliterated going into plan year 2027. What else? What else outside of 48-hour rule are you thinking about?
I mean, I think a lot of agents are hopeful for some type of rules in terms of non-commissionable plans when they're announced. Looking at CMS's statement during the whole
Yeah, good
state
luck.
DOI situation, I don't have a lot of hope that you're going to get a lot with that. But I do think having some type of, timeline on when when the non-commissionable plans have to be put out there, and not being able to do them during AEP, that type of thing, I think that's helpful. I think that would be beneficial. Do I think it's going to happen? I think slim chance. But there's a few other minor things, but like those are the main things I think for me. If we just got those two things, I'd be happy as a clam. And then of course a north of 1% at least increase on the funding. I'd love as high as we could possibly get for sure, but if as long as it's not what it is, I'll be tickled pink.
I think there is some on my wish list this year, Santa. I think there's a few deregulation items that they could throw in there. One would be 1-to-1 opt-in for Medicare only. Originally this made sense because the entire nation was moving this direction, right? So Medicare was kind of leading the charge. CMS was kind of leading the charge. Hey, it's 1-to-1 opt-in consent for Part D and Medicare Advantage, right? I mean, that was essentially how CMS rolls this out. And then the FCC goes to vote on it and it gets tossed basically at the 12th hour. And so now we're in this post FCC throwing out that rule where, to me, there's a conversation to be had of, does CMS actually trump? I mean, again, according to the rule book, they do, right? According to the rule book, CMS does get to trump when it comes to seniors. They get the final say on how they get communicated with. But I think there's almost like this ethical conversation of, shouldn't the FCC shouldn't they be on the same page? I guess is kind of what I'm saying. Is if we're doing 1-to-1 consent, shouldn't everybody be doing 1-to-1 consent? Why should just this tiny sliver be carved out for 1-to-1 consent? So that would be insane if, again, I think it's just a practicality standpoint of, hey, it could be as simple as saying, FCC decided that this wasn't a good thing for the nation, so maybe this isn't a good thing for Medicare beneficiaries either, right? So that would be insane if we got to see that tossed. Again, likelihood of that, who knows? Could be zero. Any other kind of deregulation? There could be things around communication versus marketing and kind of how that's structured right now. I mean, seeing some type of deregulation around that could be interesting. I know there's kind of a fine line of you can't just rip everything out as far as the rules go, but less is more for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I look at it from the standpoint of what did we see in the proposal? I can't remember a time where we saw something that was like a rule cut or deregulation that ended up in final rule that wasn't present in any shape or form in the proposal. I can't think of it. So, and there's a whole list of things I'm sure I could come up with of if I was in charge, this is what we do kind of thing. But I don't know how likely we are to see any of those things if they weren't in the proposal. For me, there's a few small things that were in the proposal from the deregulation standpoint, but I do think the major one was that 48-hour rule.
It was. It definitely
and I do think going too far the other way, we end up kind of seeing the rise of the Joe Namath and JJ Walker, Jimmy JJ Walker commercials, and so it's the other extreme. So.
Right.
I think cutting a few of the dumb rules that don't make any sense, 48-hour rule being the queen bee of that. I think I love the thought of that, but I don't think it's probably great. And my opinion on this, my stance on this has shifted over the years. I don't think it's great to to your point, cut too much all at once.
Yeah.
But I do think the one-to-one thing matching the FCC makes a lot of sense. I think it's practical.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll happen or not, but yeah, I think it's a logical move for them to make.
Now I'm curious if there is any examples of things ending up in final rule that weren't in the proposal, because you're probably right. It's probably, although I will say we're kind of in unprecedented times, so I feel like anything's possible with this administration. I feel like we could see just about anything, and who knows. But again, guys, we're expecting this to drop today. As of this recording, we're live right now. It's Wednesday, April 1st. This isn't an April Fool's joke. We are expecting Friday the 3rd or Monday the 6th. So we're somewhere between 2 to 5 days from getting final rule for plan year 2027. Obviously, as soon as we have this information, we want to bring it to you guys. We are historically known for being pretty much the first people to cover final rule for the past 3 years now.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That 1 year, famously, it dropped while we were live. That was hilarious.
Talking about it. Yeah.
The funniest thing that's ever happened, I think. We'll definitely, as soon as it drops and we've had a chance to look into it even a little bit to understand what it's saying, we will bring it to you. Final rules are notorious for legal jargon, long gobbledygook. So sometimes it's a little bit of an uphill battle to even understand what it's even saying.
Yes.
But I do think they've gotten better the last couple of years on that, in terms of making them a little bit easier to digest. But one other topic we need to talk about on today's show.
Hang on real fast. I want to share my screen.
For the majority of
this is the moment.
You probably fall under one of these two entities. Even if you don't know it, probably do. So the likelihood of that being a thing for you is probably very small. But like you asked about contracts, right? There's a couple different scenarios, I would say. If, let's say, that did happen, they could release you on the way out as like a courtesy. They could not, and you self-release. Or maybe the carriers do some kind of exception, like a SEP of contracts or something they've never done in the history of contracts before. I don't know. But I don't know what I'm talking about, to be honest with you. Like, what is this babble?
Oh, so we're getting some live information from
the
audience here. I'm gonna spot check this right now. It sounds like
Facebook user there.
Rule expanding access to care. Yeah, I don't think.
Got to get the beard back, guys.
Contract year 2025 Medicare Advantage and Part D final rule. Is this it?
Yep.
This is it. Is this it? Did we just get this live?
I'm trying to open it. Hang on, guys.
Did they hang on? Did CMS see us go live and they wanted to drop? We said this was pre-final. The final rule appears to have just dropped, you guys. If you're watching this live right now, if you're with us, we've been speculating about final rule. The final rule has just dropped minutes
there
ago.
We go.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
1,327 pages.
I couldn't let Christian beat them. It's a virus. Don't forget. No, it appears to be very real. It says April 4th. Right. CMS.gov.
Nice.
Little throwback for you guys to the infamous
time machine for you guys.
Yes, the infamous moment.
Yes, that was a all-timer in terms of that moment. And then we're trying to go through it and dissect it. It took people like a year to figure out what was even in that thing. And we're trying to do it live.
It took a year and a lawsuit, and we're like, we're gonna summarize this 1,400 pages for you guys live. Plus, I remember we were like we were like wrapping up. We were like an hour or longer into that live stream. And I remember being like shocked. And then we just like kept going. It was chaos. Pure chaos.
All right. One other topic we had on the docket today, probably a good time to shift gears into that. So, we put in the title update on the merger. One thing that we've been kind of kicking around that might be like an interesting idea on the show is, Glenn and I are going on almost 2.5 years of being a merged entity, a merged company. The merger took effect officially January 1st of 2024. So this is our third year essentially working together. And
9 quarters. 9 full quarters.
My goodness gracious. So one thing that we thought would be interesting to talk about and kind of, bring to the audience here in terms of a dynamic is like, Glenn and I obviously worked together pretty closely, did a lot of collaboration for years, way before we ever merged, but now we work really closely together. Like we probably talk to each other more than our spouses on most days, days than not. Like
days, especially. Yes, that's definitely true.
It's crazy, and I think both of us went from being lone wolves to an extent to all of a sudden working closely together in a partnership. So that was an adjustment period, I think, in the first probably 6 months for sure. But one thing I found very interesting to talk about on the show was, what have we learned from one another in this 2.5 years or so of being a merged company? And I was like, oh, Mike, that's an interesting topic. That's got to be like, there's got to be somebody out there that wants this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out at the end of the show today. But okay.
Comment, #love below. Okay.
Now I'm gonna hold the talking pillow now. Pull the Walter White. I have not been able to make any of my own choices my whole life. Skylar. Okay, so I thought an interesting way to do this is like we hot potato it back and forth. Maybe a little bit of banter in between.
Yeah.
I'll go first. What is one thing I've learned from you since we merged? I think one thing I've learned from you is the true power of delegation and team building. Because prior to coming in, how many employees did CBIS have prior to merging? 6?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Somewhere between 6 and 8 at most, I would say.
I want to say it was closer to 6. I don't remember the exact number, and I guess maybe it's 7 if you count the VA we had from you at that point in time, right? So like,
yeah, that sounds about right.
One thing that I was learning, but I hadn't really learned fully, is how to get things off of my plate and how to prioritize my time as wisely as I possibly could. Looking at it today, I even think about like the preparation of the merger, like putting together the books and the financials. Like I was doing our books. I was like getting all this crap together and it's disorganized and all over the place. We merge and you're like, why don't we bring in a bookkeeper? And I'm like, oh, we can do that. Like, all of the little, I think, delegation hacks that you have taught me, have helped grow the business exponentially, right? Like the insurance agency in 2 years really, probably 2 years, almost doubled in size in revenue. Yeah. And I don't think it ever did that when at that size, at that scale, previous to that. And so I think a lot of that can be chalked up to aggressively hiring when it was uncomfortable, which in the past I probably didn't do as much. And trusting people to do more things than we were previously doing. So that's the first thing that comes to mind when I think about this.
I will say that even as recently as last week, the power of the team is phenomenal. Obviously there was I always want to say Cheaper by the Dozen, but that's not even the movie. What's the movie where the two families come to, because Cheaper by the Dozen, it's one family. There's the movie
I thought
where
it was
like,
Cheaper by the Dozen. I don't know.
Not
I'm not
Cheaper
sure.
by the Dozen, and I always get this wrong, but there's a Cheaper by the Dozen similar movie. It's gonna drive me crazy, but like he has 6 kids, she has 6 kids, and like, you know, they get married. So there was like the integration of the teams when we first merged,
Yes.
but now we've come so far and we have these like specific teams for different parts of the business. It's insane how efficient things can be when you have things structured the way, because again, Christian and I have so much going on a day. We don't have time to get into the weeds on some of this stuff, but we have some incredible team members that really help us. So I appreciate the team, and I appreciate you saying that. So I'm going to jump into, I had a few I kind of already prepped for this. One was, so I thought I had a better understanding than most coming into the FMO side of the business as far as like the economics go. And what I will tell you guys listening and watching this, what I didn't understand, even though I'd been in the space for as long as I had, and I worked with a bunch of agencies and FMOs and IMOs, the economics of how much money you earn on a downline agent, let me tell you guys, it's a lot smaller than you can imagine. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot smaller than you can imagine, to the point where there's so many times that Christian and I are now having these conversations where I'm like, are we making any money working with this agent? Right. And it's like, and I'm not even talking about like agents who don't produce. I'm not, that's not even part of the conversation I'm trying to have right now. I'm talking about agents who do produce, or agents who have a downline and the downline's producing, etc. A lot of times it is such a fraction of an amount where it's just not nearly worth what you think it is. And I share that for a couple of reasons. One, it was very eye-opening to me, and Christian had a very good grasp on that coming in to the merger. So obviously he taught me a lot about this. But two, I also share this because if you're watching or listening to this, and if you think you're making your upline rich, you are not. Not unless you are doing, you know, some ungodly number of applications. You're not making your upline or your FMO or your IMO rich by any means. They are making some money, but it's not nearly what you probably think in your head it is. That was pretty eye-opening for me personally.
Yeah. I think like people have this perception of, you know, they write 5 apps. And they're like, instead of thinking about, okay, how do I go write 5 more? They're like, I wonder what my upline made off of those 5. It's like a lot less than you did. I could most likely, you know.
I mean, we'll have an agent that writes, you know, a couple apps, and that's like part of the conversation, right? They're like, well, you made money. I wrote 2 apps last month. You guys made money. It's like, no, nothing noticeable on our books came from those 2 apps. I promise you.
I think one thing we've done a good job on that side of the business is, you know, building out infrastructure to be able to provide great services and support to agents at a pretty wide scale, because I think being able to take really good care and support of large amounts of agents is kind of where the partnerships make sense for us. You know, and of course, you know, it's one of those things where we want to help every agent that partners with us. We appreciate every agent that partners with us. But yeah, I think understanding the whole dynamics of that help a lot from the standpoint of understanding how much can be reinvested into that side of the business, how many team members can we afford on that side of the business, like what do the economics look like? I think that's a good word for it.
Yep.
So another one that I thought of in kind of preparation of this was systems. We did not have really good repeatable, duplicatable systems internally in the agency. We had some kind of training courses for new team members and things like that, but a lot of the training that was being done was manual training, if not by one of our executive team members that their time is very valuable, or it was by me personally. And one thing that I think that you brought in was you guys had done such a good job of systematizing lead heroes and hire heroes, processes, standard operating procedures, documentation of all of that, organization of all of it where it's easy to find. And we definitely took that and implemented it, I think, into all sides of the business. And it's helped us grow our customer side of the business, our customer support side of the business, our sales side of the business, our FMO side of the business, our CRM team. So that structure was something that we did not have as much as we needed. We had a little bit, but not anywhere close to what we had today. So that's one thing I think about as well, in terms of things that you helped me understand in a lot better way that I didn't understand at that time.
I think again, for me, a lot of that stemmed from necessity, because when you're trying to scale, it's the only way forward, right? Like if you don't have a strong system in place, it just won't go. You'll never get to where you want to go. So yeah, I love that one. Another one I've got, I know I've got a few more. But okay. Another one for me is speed of decision making. Not that I was like the slowest decision maker. I feel like my own internal clock has sped up a ton since working with you. I think, and I think there's certain things that still warrant like, hey, let's sleep on this. Hey, let's tackle this next week, right? Like there's still things that come up where it's like, we don't need to make a decision right now, but it goes back. This really goes back to what Gary V. I remember seeing this video from Gary V a long time ago. And he's like, I would rather make the wrong decision 3 times, but misfire, 3 wrong decisions, misfire, and then get to the right decision on the 4th attempt, and I got there faster than you did because you decided you wanted to wait and think about it for a bunch of time. So I think there's a lot of power in being fast, even if you're wrong, even if you're doing the wrong thing, even if you're making the wrong decision. Sometimes being fast helps you iterate faster and you get to where you want to go, even if it wasn't a perfect straight shot. And I think Christian's always done a really good job of like, hey, we're going to decide on this right now. And we're just going to move forward. Like, I'm not going to sit on this one. Like, we're just going to, it's one thing that drives him nuts more than anything is like, let's let something fester for a few weeks and see where we end up. Like that is like that would probably put him in an asylum. If enough of that could happen to him,
I hate it.
He would just be in a loony bin, like padded walls, like, no, let's decide now. No.
my natural tendency with decisions is I want to put it to bed and move on to the next thing, because there's so many things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis internally. So when something does end up needing to be discussed multiple times, once a week for 2, 3, 4 weeks, in my mind, all I keep thinking about is I'm like, we could be moving on. We could have moved on to 3 or 4 things by now. But at the same time, that while in many instances, I think that has been a strong suit of mine, there's been plenty of situations where I wanted to make a quick decision. And I think it's kind of been a mutually beneficial thing. I think we balance ourselves very well. We balance each other very well in this regard, because there's been plenty of situations where I wanted to make a quick decision and it was a big decision. And you were like, okay, let's pump the brakes. Like, let's think this through. And that was the right thing to do on several occasions. So I think helping each other find the middle ground of like what things need to be moved out of the way and completed quickly and what things actually need a little bit more nuanced thought. And I think that's been good, probably for both of us.
We need to retitle this love story. This episode of the pod, a true love story. Christian and Glenn tell all.
Tell all.
Yes. I've got one more I wanted to get into, so I don't know if you have any others you want to throw out there.
Yeah, I got one more, but you do yours and then I'll do mine, and then we'll see if we'll see what time we have for final thoughts.
Yeah, so the last one that I think Christian does an incredible job of, and you guys, anyone who knows him obviously knows this, but it's his ability to leverage social media. You can use social media. You can be on social media a lot. You can post a lot, but I think what Christian does better than a lot of people who are really active is I think what people don't this is what the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize is there's so much planning and thought behind. I mean, when you're telling me how you're like obsessing about the algorithm and like you are literally, he's like trying to insert himself into the code. He is literally, he's trying to go like full Matrix, like plug. He's like, I'm going in, just like plugging himself in because he wants to understand it. That's what separates somebody who's, going to win on social media versus someone who's just, I'm going to post about this. I'm going to stream about this. I think that's really powerful. And that's something that you've always been, I think, really good at.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
I'll send you some flowers today. Okay, get some roses.
There's a bunch of things that I could put in this last spot on my end, but just due to time, I have to single out one final thing. So just know there's plenty of things I could say, but I think the final thing that comes to mind for me is, I think one thing I've learned from you is the importance of simplification and not trying to do too many things at once. Because before we came in, before we merged, I was trying to do a lot of things at the same time. I'm like, I could do it all. And I think, one thing that we've done a good job with over the years, we still do a lot of different things. We still have our fingertips in a lot of different buckets, but I think have done a better job over the years of eliminating or putting less emphasis on things that aren't as big of a priority and focusing more on things that are a bigger priority in the business. And I think managing those competing priorities is you are exceptional at. You're really good at seeing the big picture of what should go into something versus what is maybe an overuse of time and resources into something else. And so that's something I think for me, like I kind of think about the business before the merger on the agency side is like, a tornado. It's always going on all the time.
Chaos.
And chaos, mind-controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. And there's still a lot of chaos, but it's a lot more strategic in terms of what is being sucked into this tornado, if you will. So, I think you've brought a lot of that, I think, to the business.
That stems from me personally trying to do everything and failing over and over because I can't do it all. The saying I love, you guys, now, whenever I'm like bummed out that we can't do it, it's you can do everything, you just can't do it all at once. That's the saying I tell myself, because it's like if you have 10 things you're trying to accomplish, it's not that you can't do all 10 things. You can. You just can't do them all at the same time. Otherwise, nothing gets done. It's I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to work on these two, and then I'm going to work on this one. and you can get to the end of that road. You just have to be strategic about it. So yeah, I think that's a great one.
All right. Final thoughts. Maybe we do a quick Cliff Notes final thoughts.
Lightning final thoughts.
Guys,
I'll go first.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
No,
honey.
you're good.
Sorry, sweetie.
You're good.
Did you have the talking pillow still? I couldn't tell. I'll go really fast. Final thoughts. Stay tuned for Final Rule. This is going to set the tone for plan year 2027, going into AEP this October, including this funding, the finalization of funding for the Medicare Advantage carriers. So it's going to be a big week. Christian and I literally talked yesterday about how we can try to keep our schedule a little bit more open because we are anticipating this. We want to spend some of our own time diving into Final Rule the second it comes out. And we also want to spend some time trying to explain it to you guys and get this information to the masses as soon as it comes out. So stay tuned on that. Enjoyed this episode. I think this is great. Episode 210.
Yes. Guys, my final thoughts are Final Rule will come out. It's a very, very strong possibility that you won't understand it. Give it some time to cook. Give it time for carriers to dissect it, FMOs to dissect it. And who knows? Maybe it will be relatively clear. But whichever it is, we will be bringing you reactions to it as soon as we can, as soon as it does drop. We are on notice. We are on high alert. We're on Final Rule watch. There's that scene in Anchorman where Brian Fantana is like, Panda Watch. That's us with Final Rule.
We are on Panda Watch, right?
And the final thing to end today's show at the risk of demonetizing.
Yes, I wanted this scene. Yes, I wanted this scene when you kept saying it. Yes.
Do not touch me.
All right. Look, not touching. Kate, not touching here. Look, lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
Well, my name is Skylar White, yo. My husband is Walter White, yo. Uh-huh. He told me everything.
Ah. I couldn't play anymore. I get demonetized. But my name is Skylar White, yo.
Amazing.
I am his wife, yo.
Such a great show.
All right, guys. All right. Appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. We'll be back with you Friday, maybe, potentially, with some Final Rule breakdown. We'll see. But if not, we'll still have a great show for you. Here's to your massive success. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, give a 5-star review, whatever the platform of your choice will allow you to do on today's show. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everybody.